Sorry it's been so long to get back to this particular topic, but for those of you who don't know, I'm continuing with the topic on the Hero role-playing tabletop role-playing system, trying to show how to deal with alien races and characters in such a science fiction setting. So some background. We'll be using the 5th edition set of Hero system rules. There is a current 6th edition out. I am not all that familiar with it, other than the fact that it is still Hero System. Hello, Wondergoon. And uh, let's see, so it's 5th edition. This is for a tabletop game system, but I am not actually going to be streaming a game per se. So hopefully that won't put anybody too off. Hopefully, I'm actually talking to people who either already play the system or using the system or will soon be fans of it because I think it's a pretty great system. It's a generic role playing system, point by, and it's really phenomenal at being able to use and mimic any genre, any type of setting you care to play. I myself have used it from everything from fantasy to zombie apocalypse to science fiction to superheroes. So it is really a versatile and good system, but it can get a little crunchy. And to that, you may see up on the screen, I use a software package called Hero Designer 6. It is designed and was put together by Hero System. And it takes a lot of the bite, as we will see, out of making characters for it once you get used to the system, once you get used to using the software. But I highly recommend if you are going to get into the system, do get the Hero Designer 6 software. That said, let's get right into it. So let's pick up where I left off. I was designing a type of alien race called Dralicites. Thank you, Wondergoon. You did what I didn't think to do in here. Uh, the Hero Designer is available at herogames.com. And so, as I was saying, I left off with this video last time, or this topic last time, trying to build. I'm using some alien races from Star Trek. One was Vulcan, and now I'm switched into another tabletop gaming system that uses science fiction characters, and that is Star Frontiers, another TSR game put out back in the 80s. And so I'm going to build a Dralicite from that system, or my take on it. So we start out building a character, new character, Hero System 5th Edition rules, heroic. And we get base points 75, disadvantage points 75. Now, Dralicites are an amoeboid type race. They don't have any set form to them, uh, though tend to be very on the short side and things like that. They are also not very speedy, have multiple limbs because of their amorphous nature, and just things like that. So let's put together how to build one. And we start off with characteristics. And 10 on these top set of characteristics down through strength through comeliness are called base characteristics. And they all start out at a 10, which is normal human. And these from PD down to stun are called figured characteristics because they are figured their starting value from what the value of these base characteristics are. I'm not going to get into the math behind that, so breathe a little easier. It's part of why I say get the Hero Designer software. Okay, so Dralicites don't tend to be any stronger than humans. They do tend to be a little slower, so we're going to take off a little bit of their dexterity. They are hardier because of that whole dislocated, delocated, and amorphous type physiology. So we're going to boost their constitution and their body a little bit. Their intelligence tends to be normal, as does their ego, their willpower. Their presence and comeliness, well, let's face it, they're amorphous blobs, so they're a little uglier than by most races' standards. So we're going to take that down a little bit. We're going to bring their speed, which is the number of actions in a turn they get, back up to 2, which is normal. They're slow in that they don't run as fast. They're not slow as in they don't get as many actions as other races. And so that pretty much rounds out their characteristics. By the way, recovery is how much stun and endurance you get back at the end of every turn, or when you take your action a recovery. And stun is one of two types of hit points in the hero system. When you run out of stun, you are unconscious. When you run out of body up here, you are dead. So keep that in mind as we move forward. So clicking over here to the next tab in line, skills generally aren't included in a racial template, for the simple reason why every being in a particular race may be noted for having a certain skill, but that is generally a matter of upbringing. You were raised as one of these races. I like using the Vulcan as an example, but they're noted for their logic and their high reasoning and things, and that's great. But that's because they're raised as Vulcans. They have to learn these things. They're not part of the race. So generally speaking, skills won't be found in um, uh, uh, a racial package. Sorry. Perks, kind of the same thing. Perks are perquisites. They're beneficial little things that can crop up and help you in role play. They're things like money. They're things like a good reputation, followers, bases, and vehicles, and such as that. So they're generally not appropriate to a racial package. Some talents could be. Like you might think Dralazite should be ambidextrous. After all, if they can grow all the limbs they want, then they shouldn't have a handedness, except they are described as still having favored appendages. So they do have handedness. I am not going to give them any of these talents, but as you can see, there's quite a bit of them. Talents are usually heroic level powers. So they're things like fearless. You know, you cause a sense of fascination among people or other creatures, other characters, things like that. Martial arts, just another type of skill, so they're inappropriate for racial packages. But then we get to powers. And Dralosites should have two powers, uh, uh, simply based on the nature of their amorphous form. And one of those is, oddly enough, is extra limbs. And for 5 points, you can have any number of limbs you want. I'm going to put it as 5. And the bottom line is they can extrude, you know, up to 5 extra limbs above and beyond the 2 arms and 2 legs that normal characters, humans, again have. It's presupposed on the humanoid form. So this gives the character 5 extra limbs they can extrude and work with. This comes in handy should they, say, lose one, or something to that effect. The other thing is they do have a type of shape shifting. Uh, and it is against the sight group because it's against a sensory group that the shape shifting occurs. And let's see, other things that we need to put up here. It's probably against the touch group as well. And it is not able to do imitation, though. It's just that they can change their shape. They're amorphous in form. It does take them a little time, so instant changes not so that pretty well runs it over. So now this Raelian race has the ability to change their shape to to the sight and to touch groups. So they're going to feel different. They can feel different. They can look different. Um, so that pretty much is that. The other thing is disadvantages. Now be careful with disadvantages. When applying disadvantages to a whole race, you're setting basically that entire race has this disadvantage. So one that does come up is distinctive features. And with Dralocytes, because again of the nature of their bodies, it's concealable. They can do things to hide themselves, and it is noticed and recognized. Okay? For instance, they could put on a form and put on a low hat and a cloak and pass as human for a little bit, as long as somebody doesn't look too carefully and too closely, right? So that's why I say it's concealable. It takes some disguise skills, some effort, but they're noticed. Ah, you're a Dralocyte. Other things. Again, this brings up what I was talking about. Cyclims are probably not appropriate for a race template, simply because they are uh, not everyone on that race is going to have that. If it is that widespread, like Vulcan's love of logic, then that is possible. But it's again training. Yes, Vulcans have to be trained to be logical. A lot of people miss that in Star Trek, in watching Star Trek, but they are not inborn with it. So there we have it. We have built now a race called the Dralocytes. They're a little less nimble than humans, but they're a little body wise tougher, and they can change their shape to some degree and have extra limbs. So we'll save that now. And let's see. We're going to save it as a template. Dralocyte. And we're going to put it under science fiction races. As we've seen, I've created an avian and the Vulcan. And bam, we've created a new race. Now, to create a character with this race, all we'd have to do is come in here, new character, 5th edition rules, heroic, and we come in here under the current character tab, and we change the current template to a custom non-standard rule, Dralocyte, load the template, and when we come in here, oops, well, it should have changed all of that to, so I did something wrong. So instead of a template, let's save it as a package deal. That's probably what I did wrong. Which means I did it wrong on the other two races. Uh, no. It doesn't matter that the template is open as long as it's saved as a file. Um, so let's try that again. New character. Apply a package deal. There we go. Bam. And now we see we've already got our characteristics and everything applied. Um, templates apply, I now remember, apply a particular rule set on the character. It doesn't change any of the characteristics or anything like that. It changes things like his normal characteristic maxima down here. Where's my cursor? There it is. Uh, Whether it's checked or not, and various things like that. So that's what a template does. So I had them mixed up. So you want to save it as a package deal. And I should have showed you that and then you can apply the package deal and all of this stuff, the powers and everything for the race will pop into onto the character. So that's the Dralizite. I want to do one more type of race, and that one is another Star Frontiers race. We're called the Vrusk. They're an insectile race. So we're going to start off the same way. We're going to start it out like we're going to build a character because to a degree we're building a character. So Vrusk were known for being slightly weaker than a little weaker than humans. They were known for being a little more dexterous, however, and again weaker. But we're going to leave their body the same because increasing a race's body is makes them tougher. But when you decrease their body, you've got to keep in mind you're making that whole race more fragile. Uh, they're more prone to dying, is essentially what you're saying. And so, without good reason, you probably should never do a race package that has a lower body to start with, because you're pretty much saying this race dies at the drop of a hat compared to humans. All right. Uh, because of their size and everything, I'm going to give them a little more presence. I don't think because that was mentioned, but in the game, but we're going to do it anyway. Okay, just basically because I want to show what all you can do. So there we go, and we see that compared to the Dralizite, they have much lower on the figured characteristics. Their ED is only 2 instead of 3. Their recovery is only 4 instead of 5. They've got almost 10 less endurance and about 5 less stun starting out. So these Vrusk, they're not as sturdy. They're not as tough as the amorphous Dralicites. Okay? Now, these guys do have a talent because they were noted as being ambidextrous. They can use either hand um, equally well. So there we go. And they also need extra limbs because they are insectile. So we're going to give them 6 extra limbs. Okay, so they're kind of more centipede-like. And let's see, I think they had some enhanced senses. So we're going to give them some enhanced perception with all sense groups, but we're only going to give them 2, so they're a little more aware of their surroundings than humans are, and able to spot things a little better and things like that. And so then we come to disadvantages. And again, they're a different race than humans, so they're distinctive from being human, although it could be argued that that's a very human-centric way of viewing, and humans should be the ones with a distinctive feature. But that may be a valid thing in your campaign world, where humans are just one of many races. And so humans could get away with playing, just getting a distinctive feature. But we're going to go with this. We're going to say with the Vrusco that it's not concealable. They are what they are because they got these long centipede-like bodies that they raise up and antennae and big multifaceted eyes. There's just no getting around this and hiding what they are. So it's not concealable, but it's still only noticed and recognized because they don't have a reputation or anything like that of being horrible or terrible to see or anything like that. So we'll give them that distinctive feature. And there we have it. Voila. We've created yet another race, and we're not even 20 minutes into the video, the stream. So once again, to save it as a package, we save under the current character, we save, and we come down here to save as a package deal. Vrusk. And bam, there we have it. Now I can come in here anytime I want, create a new character, heroic level, because that sets the template, is the heroic level. And on the current character, then we can apply a package deal. And before I do that, I want to show you characteristics are all tens and so forth. No powers, no talents. But when I do apply package deal, apply Vrusk, all of a sudden, bam, it's populated with all of those talents, powers, and characteristics changes that we made to make the Vrusk race. And so it's that easy. This is why I recommend the software package. It really does make things a lot easier. It makes things more tractable than trying to figure this up all in your head or with a calculator and a scratch pad of paper to take care of all the math. Uh, and as Wondergoon points out, only 20 points to play one of these insectoid Vrusk type characters. And to be honest, just the straight character would be reasonably good in a heroic level setting. Uh, um, usually you have 150 points total, 20 points, and you're this race. What's not like to like about that? That reminds me, though, what about the Drylopsite? I forgot to take a look at what it is. And you can see I can open multiple characters in this. Uh, um, so how much is it to play a Drylopsite? And the answer is 23 points. So again, a race that doesn't take up too much in the way of characteristics and everything. And I should go back and recreate my Avian and Vulcan because I saved them as templates, which means all of this information on the characteristics and everything were lost. Uh, but you know, it's unless you go overboard and you start trying to do something that makes pretty much all of the members of a race super strong and so forth, or all the same. Generally speaking, your racial templates, your racial packages are probably going to come out around 23 points. Uh, I've had some racial packages that come out to around 35, but that's starting to get the edge of playable. Remember, you only have 150 points total. So, getting up into 35, you're starting to be running really that you're taking up a lot of the character's points just to be the race. Okay. Another thing about this system, this software, you've got all the tabs open, so you can come back in here and click on whichever one you want. Current character, you can close it out. And since I'm not actually building one of these characters just now, bam, we can close them out. Life goes on. So I'm going to throw it open and ask if you would like to see a different race developed, Wondergoon, or would you like to see something else developed? Because I'm running out of ideas, but I kind of want to show some of the versatility of this system for being science fiction, uh, for doing science fiction. And I'm being a little slow mentally today. Do a Yazarian. Do the third of the non-human PC races from Star Frontiers. So let's see how well I remember them. Uh, Yazarians were essentially a almost feral race with giant membranes, kind of like a flying squirrel that allowed them to glide and such as that. So, looking at their characteristics, strength, as I recall, they were not weaker than humans. They were not particularly nimble or dexterous. I think they were a little less hardy because they had to have a lighter frame to do the gliding. Uh, but we're not. I'm not going to change their characteristics too much, other than that little lowering of the constitution. So any talents? You know what? My Drigazarians are going to have absolute range sense. They're able to gauge how far it is before they make that leap and try to glide between two locations. So they're able to gauge, and yeah, I can make that, that sort of thing. So now powers. Okay. As I recall, they had a little bit of a fanged mouth, so we're going to give them a hand killing attack. Berserker Rage ability. That was it. Uh, uh, so we're going to let them have teeth so they can bite. And there we go. So not 1 die 6. Jeez. That would be one heck of a bite, folks. Um, they don't have super fangs. They just have, a little sharper canines than we do. And they have the other big thing, gliding. And I'm going to give them 10 inches worth of gliding. We're going to add a modifier to this because there's this membrane that stretches between their arms and their legs that allows it. So that's restrainable. You can keep them from being able to use it simply by wrapping their arms and that membrane up. So there we go. And as we can already see, there are 11 points to be this race. But Mr. Wondergoon brought us up a point that I should add another nice ability there. That's the Berserk Fury, which you've got to have this nice fantasy hero book to know what it does. I, fortunately, have it. Haha, Fantasy Hero for the 5th edition. And it tells me that on page 104 is what the Berserk Fury does. So let's take a look on it. And let's see if I want to do that or tweak it and make it my own. And so, Berserk Fury, 16 points, aid to strength. So, and physical damage reduction. So basically, they are harder to hurt when they're raging, and they're stronger. So I think that covers it right there well enough. And we'll let them have this nice fantasy hero talent called Berserk Fury. And again, basically, that will allow them to be stronger, rah, and less susceptible to taking damage. And that pretty well is what you'd want out of a Berserk Fury, a good Berserk Fury. But that does bring up then disadvantages. And for a race like this, I can see two, not a DNPC, dependent NPC, distinctive features. They are Yazarian. And I'm going to again say that that's concealable and recognized. And I'm going to give them an enraged. I'll explain what this is in a minute. Well, bottom line, it's they can go berserk against their will, uh, um, as well as at will. This is a bad thing. That's why it's a disadvantage. You don't get any stronger or anything like that for this enraged. But what it means is under a circumstance, uh, when takes body damage. All right. So whenever this character takes body damage, which is going to be a fairly common thing, You roll 3 dice 6. If the total in the dice comes out to 8 or less, we could increase that to 11 or 14 or less, but we're going to leave it at 8. The character is now enraged. I'll get into what that means. Well, no, now is the time to get into what that means. What it means is whoever just hit them that did body, they are going to attack them all out. They are going to use their strongest attacks. They are going to try to put that person, that individual, down. Okay? Once they do that, they roll this recovery, chance to recover. So they again rolled 3 dice 6, and on 14 or less total, they snap out of it. If they don't snap out of it, they attack the nearest available enemy target. Okay? Then they see if they recover again. After that, there's a time chart involved. If they don't recover, they keep going through nearest available enemy until they run out of enemies. If they still haven't recovered, now they can attack friends. This is why it's a disadvantage. You could end up attacking friendly PCs or friendly party members. So this is a problem. And we'll leave it at that. I could make it a berserk, but then after you drop the target that triggered you in the first place, if it's a full berserk, you immediately start attacking nearest available. So there's a much greater chance you attack a fellow compatriot, whether there are other enemies standing or not. With an enraged, you go through the enemies first. So this is a very careful thing. Do you want it? I'm going to allow it simply because the race is already tended to have that berserk fury to begin with. So I'm going to say they have a tendency to every now and then lose it on their own in a bad way, not always in a good way. Now, the other reason to be careful of this is if you come back here into basic info, the maximum points of disadvantages a character gets is 75. You've just taken up 20 if we went this route. And so that may make you think, well, wait a minute, let's not do that. And delete it. Now you've only taken up 10 of that 75 points that the player gets to choose what their advantages, their disadvantages are. Just like we've taken up 27 points in being a Yazirian. So that seems reasonable enough. So again, we save under current character. We save as a package deal. And your Zarian. And bam. It's now saved as a package. We can call it back up and make a character of this race, starting with the things that every member of the race should have from the very beginning. And that's how easy it is to make a race. So let's continue with this character and actually build the character then, I guess. Okay. And we can come back to the characteristics. And just because these are the base characteristics for that race does not mean we have to keep them there. I don't like that it only has an 8 con. So I'm going to raise that back up to 12. And so he's a little tougher than the average Assyrian and a little tougher actually than the average human. We're also going to make him a little stronger and a little more nimble. I like intelligent characters personally. And we'll leave the rest alone. And as you can see, that's done some things to the characteristics down here. We're also going to give him a 3 speed. We're going to give him more actions per turn. Your speed is essentially how many actions you get in a 12-second turn. Each turn is divided into 12 1-second segments. And with a speed of 3, you get to go on 3 of those segments They're called your phases. And in the case of a speed 3, you go on 4, 8, and 12. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Uh, okay. Wondergoon points out, like Wookiees, Yazarians are knowledgeable about technology, so a higher intelligence isn't out of line. So there we go. Um, so next, skills. Let's see. We can do. How many points have we spent so far? 57. So normally we would have some background, some everyman skills that everybody in the campaign, or actually every Yazirian, should have. And let's go ahead and do that. Let's make a new list. Every Yazirian skills. This is where you can run into some difficulty when you have different races out there. Is you may have to come up with, as a GM, every man skills for each of your races. I think that a Yazirian would probably know acrobatics as an area everyman skill. They know how to maneuver and roll with a fall and things like that. And in fact, breakfall is probably an every Yazirian skill. Um, and what these everyman skill is they give you an 8 or less roll on 3 die 6. You're trying to get 8 or less for no points. Everybody of this particular group can do these skills to a certain level. Now, if you want to actually purchase the skill, this gives you no benefit. You still have to pay full points for it. Okay? And let's see. I would think climbing would probably be in every Yazirian skill. And um, let's see. Concealment. I'm just going to run through quite a few of these. Conversation. Most people know how to hold a conversation, right? As you can see, these skills normally cost 3 points, character points. Let's see. Deduction. Most people know how to make leaps of and put together clues to solve things. And let's see. Working through all of these. Give me a second. Uh, they have their native language. Yazirian. Okay. And running right along. I'm going to give them navigation as an everyman skill. Uh, air. They know how to plot a direction and everything. Paramedics. Most beings know something of patching up a hurt comrade. Da, da, da. Persuasion. And as you can see, this can take pretty well a little bit of time. There's professional skill. I'm going to make this guy a pilot, so we're going to go ahead and give him that as a professional skill. And as you can see, this is one of the few times when the everyman skill version gets you an 11 or less, uh, is with your profession. Bottom line, somebody with an 11 or less can do that as for a living, that profession for a living. Um, let's see. Some of these are human, normal, for modern day characters, and I think that will do it. Okay. And then we are going to put in a new separator. It's going to give me a warning because you can't put a list within a list, and they do the separator as being a list. All right. And so I'm going to make this guy a pilot. So I'm going to go ahead and have given him acrobatics, which it warns me that I have, and I'll delete it from the every Azirian skills. Okay. I'm going to give him the full breakfall skill. And we're definitely going to give him combat piloting. Okay. And let's see. Let's give him conversation. He's able to negotiate contracts on his own. He's a pilot after all. Let's see. Electronics. He knows how to do some work on his ship, so mechanics as well is going to come up. Knowledge, skill. We'll give a few of these. Transport ships. He knows his way around these types of ships. He knows how to identify ships. He knows his way around transport ships. Okay, language. Let's give him complete fluency in Common, Galactic, and make him literate at it to boot. Okay. Yes, mechanics, navigation, and we'll call that space. And we'll leave his air navigation at 8 or less up there in the Everyman. Let's see. How many points? We're up to 84 points. We'll give him persuasion. And you see, for heroic level campaign, it's a lot about getting just the skills that you need. I think that's all we're going to worry about right there. So we need to give him some transport familiarities. And let's see, science fiction. So we're going to give him science fiction and space vehicles. And come up here, we're also going to give him small motorized ground vehicles. I think that will be it. Yep. So he now knows how to use these types of vehicles. So he can fly both space vehicles and small motorized ground vehicles. Yep. And as Wondergoon points out, now we need weapon familiarities as well. These set what weapons you're familiar with and able to use without a penalty. So we're going to go with common melee weapons. I'm actually not going to put in common missile weapons. I will put in small arms, so you can use various slug throwers and projectile weapons. And we're going to go with beam weapons, so you can use lasers. And we've spent 96 of his 150 points. We need some perks now. One is a fringe benefit that I know we need. Need a starship license. All right. And so we'll do that. And we're going to give him, I think, a good reputation. As a trustworthy pilot. He's known to a small group, though. He's not really well known yet. Um, and we'll make it an 8 or less roll on that. And we're going to give him +5 and +5 die 6 on personality. If somebody recognizes his name, he's going to have some bonus, that +5 bonus to persuasion checks and things like that on getting them to sign up with him as their pilot. And we're going to give him a vehicle. So we're going to give him let's say a 75 point base, 75 points of disadvantage vehicle. And that's going to be his little starship that he flies around. And I think that's going to be it. So we're going to come back here to skills, and I'm going to give him some skill levels. Okay. And we're going to do any 3 related skills. And that's going to be combat piloting, navigation, and let's see. Yeah, combat pilot navigation for right now. Basically flying the ship. We're going to give him 3 of those. And we're getting up close to our point limits. So we're going to come back here to characteristics. I'm going to make him, give him a little more presence. Make him a little more, have a little more willpower. Let's see. Kick him up to 30 endurance, I think, and 25 stun. That leaves us with 10 points still. So we're going to bump his acrobatics roll by +1. And his conversation, not by +2. I did specify the navigation is space. Yes. I see what you're saying on the skill roll. Okay, yes. Probably should do this because he does have 2 types of navigation. So navigation space. Bottom line, these 3 skill levels will not help with his air navigation. That is an everyman skill for being his Jazarian self. You know what? We're also going to give him some combat skill levels. Let's see. Give him 2 levels. With beam weapons. He knows how to handle a mean blaster. And there's 150 points. And he's a pretty good pilot and pretty good at handling himself if things go the wrong direction. And so now we need to do is disadvantages. Got to come up with 75 points of that. So let's do the archetypical bounty hunter. He dropped a cargo on somebody. Or not a bounty hunter. Let's crime boss. That's the word I'm looking for. All right. So he's hunted because he dropped cargo that he shouldn't have dropped one time. Um, so let's give him uh, uncommon, strong, hates Slethar. That's a lizard-like race that was in Star Frontiers, if I'm remembering their name correctly. And so that's a psychological limb. He dislikes them. He will attack them pretty much on sight. Sethar. I was close. So we'll make that adjustment. And we'll give him a common moderate disadvantage of overconfidence. He knows he can fly. And let's see, that's 45, so we got 30 more points. Some people just know him as a smuggler. And they don't like that very much. So now we're up to 50 points of disadvantages. Let's go ahead and do another psychological limitation. Overconfidence is the standard PC disadvantage, yes. PCs at the heroic level especially tend to take overconfidence, and it's appropriate. You're at 150 points, the average competent normal is 50 points. So you're much, much better at things than the average person out there. So why wouldn't you be overconfident and a little smug, right? Um, so psychological limitation. You know what? Let's name him another common moderate. Carouser. I think I'm spelling that correctly. Probably not. But he likes to party down a little bit. And we need 10 more points. So let's see. I'm running out of ideas. uh oh, let's do a psychological limitation. Duh. This one could be very common. So we may take off this reputation as a smuggler and a couple of others. Loves ship. Don't show again. So we're 5 points over. So yep, we'll delete the smuggler reputation. And the bottom line is he loves his ship. He's not going to do anything that puts it in danger. So there are some missions he's just not going to take because that's a death trap. And there we have it. Our nice pilot Yorzirian. He's got some fairly decent characteristics for his stats. He's got some pretty impressive skills and a broad set of skills. He's got some perks, including his own little starship and a good reputation. He's got the talents that come from just being a Yorzirian, the powers to go with it, and a nice set of disadvantages. And Wondergoon is saying, I've always wanted to play a character that is abominably dumb and unskilled but stupid lucky. Like none of his skills are above 8, but he has 15.6 of luck. Yeah, that could do it. What he's talking about is all these skills are like 8 or less. But over here under talent, I think it's under talent. Or powers. There it is. you can buy luck. And so could get up here to 15 die 6. It costs you 75 points. But what it would enable you to do is at 3 die 6 of luck, incredibly strange things can happen that send things into your favor. At 4d6 and above, they can start affecting people around you. Okay, so at 6 die 6 of luck, you can, bottom line, give the people around you the equivalent of 3 die 6. So at 15 die 6 of luck, pretty much everybody who's favorably inclined towards you will uh, potentially have 3 die 6 of luck. So at 15 die 6, you're talking about I'm having trouble with, doing something with this computer, and Bill Gates stops by. Oh, let me handle that for you. You look like you're having a little trouble. Okay? Yes, stupid, ridiculous things like that can happen. This is why I tend to role play the luck and the unluck. Because for the same reason, under disadvantages, you'll notice there's unluck over here, but it's capped at 5 die 6. For the same reason, unluck uh, at 3 die 6 level, stupid, ridiculous things, you can get hurt by bad things just happening to go wrong. And at 4 and 5 die 6, people around you that are favorably inclined towards you can now be affected by your unluck. So there's a reason why it's limited to 5 die 6. Basically, you don't want to cheese off your fellow PCs too much. Um, but it is possible that you can be so unlucky that it rubs off onto others, just like you can be so lucky that it rubs off onto others. And so Wondergoon, getting back to the subject, is saying he would love to play a character that is abominable characteristics wise and skill wise, but very lucky, so that just things happen that go right. I guess you could name that character Forrest. Sorry for that bad reference. But here we've made up our nice Yorzerian character and current character. We can save him as and give him a name. Um, let's see. Science fiction space. We'll make a new menu, a new folder, and we'll put him there, and we'll call him Jaclor, and bam, the character is saved. Yeah, I'm not gonna go there, man. I'm trying to keep politics out of it. But this is how you make a character for a science fiction game. This is how you make up your races for a science fiction game, save them as package deals, and be able to call them back up and make characters out of them. This is also a glimpse into how you set your everyman skills or your Yorzerian skills, and just things like that. And hopefully it's been an enlightening video and shows that you can do other things besides fantasy games or superhero games with this hero system. Uh, and as you can see, it is a point buy system, but it's very good, very versatile, and it's a lot easier than a lot of people try to make it out, especially when you get this wonderful software. And yes, I'm pushing for Hero System. I want you all to become as big a fan of the system as I have, and I've been playing it since 1990-ish, 1991. So I've played it through many iterations and incarnations. But unless Wondergoon or somebody else pops in and has a question or a comment, I'm going to call it a stream. I'm going to close out the character, and I hope you've had fun watching this as I've had actually putting it together, even though I seem to lose my train of thought occasionally. With that said, have a good one. Hope to see y'all next time.